in a small, weathered town nestled deep within the rugged landscapes of the Old West. An orphan girl who could neither hear nor speak faced a world that often turned its back on those who were different. On a cold Sunday morning, as the wooden church doors creaked open to welcome the faithful, she was unceremoniously thrown out, abandoned by the very community that should have embraced her. Her silence was misunderstood as defiance, her deafness as an obstacle too great to accept. But beyond the judgmental eyes and whispered rumors, one man saw her true worth. A humble farmer whose hands were as worn from toil as they were gentle with those in need. Witnessing the girl's helplessness, he lifted her tenderly from the cold ground, carrying her back into the church that had rejected her. His act was not just one of kindness, but a powerful stand against prejudice in a time and place where survival often meant turning away from the vulnerable. As he carried her through the creaking doors, the murmurs of the congregation grew louder, but his resolve did not falter. In that moment, he challenged the harshness of the frontier and the coldness of hearts hardened by hardship. The farmer's silent message was clear. Every soul deserves compassion. Every voice, even those unheard, matters deeply. The story of the deaf orphan and the farmer who refused to let her be cast aside is one of courage, empathy, and the quiet rebellion of kindness in a world too often ruled by fear and misunderstanding. It's a tale that reminds us how the smallest acts can ripple through communities, changing hearts and breaking barriers that seem insurmountable. Join us as we uncover this moving chapter from the Old West, a story of silence and strength, rejection and redemption, and the profound impact one man's compassion had on a young girl's life and an entire town's conscience. The orphan girl's world was one of silence, a place where sound she could never hear shaped a life filled with misunderstanding and solitude. In the dusty town, where everyone seemed to know each other's stories, her silence was mistaken for stubbornness, her deafness for defiance. Though her eyes searched for connection, the community's cold shoulders and harsh whispers built walls too high to climb. She had learned to navigate the shadows, often alone, yearning for acceptance in a world that rarely paused to understand. The wooden church, a place meant to be sanctuary and solace, became a symbol of exclusion on that fateful Sunday. As the congregation gathered to pray and sing, the girl, dressed in worn clothes and with hands trembling from fear and cold, was cruelly cast out. The doors slammed shut behind her, echoing a rejection that went far beyond the physical. Her heart ached not only from the chill of the outside air, but from the sting of abandonment by those she had hoped would offer comfort. Word of her expulsion spread quickly through the town, stirring whispers and divided opinions. Some believed she was a troublemaker, a child too wild to be tamed. Others, quieter and more compassionate, felt the sting of injustice but feared to speak out. In this harsh frontier town, where survival often meant hardening hearts, the girl's plight was a test of the community's soul, a question of who they were willing to protect and who they would cast aside. Into this scene stepped a farmer, a man whose life was etched by years of labor beneath unforgiving skies. His rough hands had tilled the unforgiving soil, but his heart remained tender to the pain around him. Seeing the orphan girl alone and frightened, he felt a stirring of something rare, a call to action born not of duty, but of deep empathy. Without hesitation, he crossed the street, knelt beside her, and gently lifted her into his arms. His act was quiet but defiant, a message carried not with words but through courage and compassion. As he walked back toward the church doors, the eyes of the town followed, some with curiosity, others with disapproval. But the farmer did not falter. He carried not only the girl, but the weight of a choice that would challenge the very fabric of their community. The farmer's return to the church was met with a mixture of shock and murmurs that rippled through the congregation like a sudden gust of wind. Those inside struggled to reconcile the image of the deaf orphan, once rejected and abandoned, with the quiet strength of the man who had brought her back. The walls of judgment that had seemed so firm began to crack under the weight of his resolve. Though he spoke no grand words, his actions spoke volumes. Every life mattered, and no one deserved to be cast aside. Inside the church, the girl's eyes reflected a mixture of fear, confusion, and a fragile hope that perhaps this time she would be seen, not just as an outcast, but as someone worthy of belonging. The farmer settled her gently among the pews, wrapping her in a worn but warm blanket he had brought along. The congregation's voices softened, the hymns paused, and for a moment, silence held a sacred power, an unspoken acknowledgement that change was stirring. Outside, the wind carried whispers of the farmer's courage far beyond the church walls. Townsfolk who had long accepted cruelty as the norm began to question their own hearts. Could compassion really thrive in a land so hardened by struggle? The farmer's simple act became a catalyst for reflection, a mirror held up to a community that had forgotten the true meaning of mercy and grace. As days passed, the farmer's care for the orphan girl did not waver. He became her protector and advocate, teaching her signs and gestures to bridge the silence between them. Their bond grew stronger, a testament to the healing power of love and patience in a world that often moved too fast to notice the broken. Through their quiet partnership, a new chapter unfolded, one where acceptance began to replace rejection. The story of the deaf orphan and the steadfast farmer rippled outward, touching the hearts of many in the town and beyond. It challenged deeply rooted prejudices and opened doors long closed. In the unforgiving landscape of the Old West, this tale of kindness and courage became a beacon, a reminder that even the quietest voices deserve to be heard and that true strength often lies in the gentlest hands. As the farmer devoted himself to caring for the orphan girl, the town began to notice a subtle shift. The girl's once timid presence grew stronger with each passing day. Though she could not hear the prayers or the songs that filled the church, she found her own voice in a language of gestures and expressions, taught patiently by the man who refused to let her fade into silence. Their connection became a silent conversation, filled with trust and understanding, defying the isolation that had once surrounded her. Neighbors who had once avoided the girl now paused to offer kind smiles or gentle words, their hearts softened by the farmer's example. Slowly, curiosity replaced suspicion, and walls of prejudice began to crumble. The community was awakening to a truth long ignored, that even those who could not speak or hear deserved dignity, love, and a place to belong. The orphan girl, once rejected, was becoming a symbol of hope and resilience. However, not everyone welcomed this transformation. Some townsfolk clung stubbornly to old beliefs, whispering doubts and doubts of acceptance. They feared change, afraid that the farmer's kindness was a threat to their way of life, their traditions steeped in hardship and survival. The girl's presence became a quiet battleground of acceptance and resistance, testing the limits of the community's compassion. Undeterred, the farmer stood as a steadfast guardian, not just of the girl, but of the values he believed in. His patience and unwavering care showed that true strength was found not in judgment or exclusion, but in the courage to embrace the vulnerable. His daily acts of kindness became a powerful lesson, breaking through hardened hearts and inspiring others to reconsider what it truly meant to be a community. In the face of opposition, the farmer and the orphan girl forged a path of quiet revolution. Together, they challenged the town to rise above fear and prejudice, teaching that every soul, no matter how silent or different, holds the power to change a community. Their story began to spread, a beacon of hope amidst the rugged landscape of the Old West. One crisp morning, the church bell rang louder and clearer than it had in years, signaling a gathering unlike any before. Hundreds of townsfolk, moved by the farmer's example and the girl's quiet courage, came together to hear a story of redemption and belonging. The once silent orphan was now at the heart of a community awakening, a living testament to the transformative power of acceptance. The farmer stood before the crowd, his voice steady and filled with heartfelt conviction. He spoke not of grand miracles, but of simple truths, the dignity of every human being, the strength found in compassion, and the hope born when a community chooses love over judgment. His words wove a tapestry of connection, inviting all to lay down their fears and open their hearts to one another. As the sun set and painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, the orphan girl sat among the gathered people, her eyes shining with a newfound sense of belonging. Her silence was no longer a barrier, but a bridge, one that connected the past wounds to future healing. The crowd listened in respectful quiet, many moved to tears, as the story of rejection turned to acceptance unfolded before them. The church, once a place of exclusion, had become a sanctuary of hope. The man who had carried the girl back inside had ignited a spark that warmed even the coldest of hearts. Through their journey, the town learned that compassion is the strongest kind of courage, and that true community embraces every voice, even those unheard. This chapter in the Old West was not merely about survival, but about transformation. It showed that when one person stands up for the vulnerable, they can change not only a life but an entire town's soul. And in the quiet strength of a farmer and a deaf orphan, a new legacy was born, one of hope, acceptance, and unbreakable human spirit. In the weeks that followed, the orphan girl's presence in the town grew into a living testament of resilience and the power of acceptance. The farmer, steadfast in his dedication, taught her not just the language of signs, but the language of belonging. Their bond became a silent but profound story whispered among neighbors, a story that challenged the community's preconceived notions. People began to see the girl not as an outcast, but as a symbol of hope, a living reminder that even the most fragile souls deserve compassion and a place to call home. Families who once avoided the girl now opened their doors, sharing meals and stories around their hearths. The church, once the scene of rejection, slowly transformed into a place of inclusion and healing. Choirs practiced songs that celebrated community and unity, echoing through the town's dusty streets. The girl, though unable to hear these melodies, felt their spirit in the warmth of the gathering, connecting her to a world that had once seemed unreachable. Yet, beneath the surface, tension simmered. Some townsfolk whispered fears about change and the erosion of tradition. They questioned the farmer's motives and the girl's place among them, clinging to old ways rooted in survival and suspicion. These tensions tested the fragile peace growing in the town, threatening to unravel the progress made. But the farmer's calm resilience and the girl's quiet strength held firm, proving that true courage often lies in patience and steadfast love. Together, the farmer and the orphan faced these challenges with unwavering faith in humanity's capacity for growth. They became pillars in a community rebuilding itself, guiding others to confront fears and embrace differences. Their journey inspired acts of kindness that multiplied, creating a ripple effect that spread beyond the town's borders into the wider frontier. The story of a deaf orphan once thrown out of church was no longer one of exclusion. It had become a powerful narrative of transformation, showing that when compassion leads, even the hardest hearts can soften. In the vast, wild Old West, this tale was a beacon of light, proving that love and acceptance could tame even the most rugged terrain. As seasons passed, the town flourished in ways that echoed far beyond its dusty streets. The orphan girl grew in confidence and grace, her spirit unbroken by the silence that once isolated her. The farmer's care had given her the tools to communicate and connect, breaking down barriers that had seemed insurmountable. Her journey was a testament to the idea that with patience and love, even the most daunting challenges can be overcome. The community embraced a new sense of unity, shaped by the lessons learned from the farmer and the orphan. Town meetings became spaces for open dialogue, where voices once silenced were now heard and valued. Festivals celebrated not just the land's bounty, but the richness of diversity and shared humanity. In every corner of the town, a culture of empathy and respect took root, transforming the Old West's harshness into warmth. However, the journey toward acceptance was ongoing. Not every heart was ready to change, and some resisted the new order with quiet stubbornness. The farmer and the orphan girl understood that progress was often a winding road, filled with setbacks and moments of doubt. Yet, they met every obstacle with patience, embodying the very lessons they sought to teach, a relentless belief in the power of kindness. Their story began to inspire neighboring towns and settlements, spreading a message that challenged the frontier's traditional narratives. The tale of a deaf orphan's rejection turned into a powerful call for inclusion and compassion, inviting others to open their hearts and communities to those who had long been marginalized. In the wide expanse of the Old West, this story became a legend, not of guns and gold, but of courage, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of a community transformed by love. It was a reminder that even in the toughest landscapes, humanity's greatest strength lies in its capacity to embrace and uplift the most vulnerable. As time passed, the once divided town found itself bound together by the quiet strength of empathy and the lessons taught by the farmer and the orphan girl. The girl's presence became a living symbol of what could be achieved when people chose understanding over judgment. Children who had never encountered someone like her now played alongside her, learning the language of signs as naturally as spoken words. Her laughter, once rare and tentative, echoed through the town, weaving a new melody of inclusion and hope. The farmer's role evolved beyond that of caretaker. He became a teacher and a guide for the community, urging them to embrace change and heal old wounds. Through his example, others began to see that true bravery was not in wielding a weapon, but in opening one's heart to those who seemed different or broken. His quiet acts of kindness inspired a wave of generosity, from sharing food and shelter to defending the girl's right to belong in a place that had once cast her out. Yet, the path to acceptance was never without challenge. Some voices, fueled by fear and prejudice, sought to undo the progress made. They whispered of tradition and warned of change's dangers, stirring old fears in the hearts of many. But the community, strengthened by the bonds forged in compassion and courage, stood firm. They knew that the future they were building required them to confront not only the land's harshness, but the hardness in their own hearts. In this crucible of transformation, the girl and the farmer became beacons of resilience. Their journey reminded everyone that change often begins with a single step, a moment of bravery to stand against injustice and choose love instead of exclusion. Their story echoed across the frontier, carried by those inspired to continue the work of building bridges where once there were only walls. Through seasons of growth and struggle, the town blossomed into a place where differences were celebrated and every voice, heard or silent, was valued. The deaf orphan's journey from rejection to belonging became a powerful testament to the enduring power of kindness in the wild and unforgiving Old West. The story of the deaf orphan and the farmer who carried her back into the church became a legend told in whispers and shouts across the frontier. It was a tale not of gunfights or gold, but of humanity's quiet triumph over fear and prejudice. Travelers passing through the town carried the story with them, sharing it around campfires and in saloons, reminding all who heard that even the most vulnerable deserve a place to stand. The girl's growth into a confident young woman was a living testament to the transformative power of community and care. She became a teacher herself, passing on the language she had learned and the lessons of acceptance to a new generation. Her story inspired others born into silence or hardship to believe in their worth and to find strength in connection. The farmer, once a solitary figure in a harsh land, found his legacy in the lives he touched and the hearts he changed. His quiet courage challenged a whole town to be better, to reach deeper, and to hold tighter to the bonds that make us human. He showed that sometimes the greatest revolutions begin not with a shout, but with a gentle hand extended in compassion. Despite challenges and lingering shadows of old prejudices, the community continued to grow stronger, united by the shared belief that kindness and understanding were the true foundations of any lasting peace. Their story was a beacon for the frontier, a reminder that even in the wildest places, love has the power to tame the heart. Under the vast western sky, where once silence and rejection had ruled, the voices of many now rose in harmony. A chorus forged by the courage of a deaf orphan and the unwavering compassion of a farmer who refused to let her be forgotten. As the years rolled on, the town that had once cast out a silent girl became a beacon of transformation and hope in the rugged frontier. The orphan, now a young woman, walked confidently among her neighbors, her hands telling stories that her voice never could, her smile a testament to the unspoken bonds forged through patience and love. Where once there was division and fear, there now blossomed a community that celebrated resilience and acceptance, woven together by the farmer's steadfast dedication and the girl's quiet strength. Her journey from rejection to belonging had reshaped not only her own destiny, but also the hearts of those who once judged her. Families opened their homes, sharing meals and stories, their eyes open to the beauty found in embracing difference. The church, once a place of exclusion, became a sanctuary where all were welcomed and valued, a powerful symbol of the community's rebirth. It was a living testament to the idea that even the most silent voices could echo loudly when met with compassion. Yet, the road to healing had not been without obstacles. The ghosts of prejudice lingered in the shadows, with some resisting the changes and clinging to the familiar coldness of old ways. But the collective courage of the community, inspired by the farmer and the girl's enduring example, proved stronger. Through their shared struggles, they learned that love and understanding required constant nurturing and the bravery to confront uncomfortable truths. Their story, passed down through generations, became a cornerstone of the town's identity, a reminder that true strength lies not in physical might or dominance, but in the power of kindness and empathy. The orphan's legacy was a guiding light, illuminating a path where every soul, regardless of ability or past, had a place and a voice. In the harsh expanse of the Old West, their journey stood as proof that humanity's capacity to heal can overcome even the toughest odds. As the sun set on this chapter of their lives, the man and woman stood side by side, their hearts filled with quiet pride and hope. They had transformed a town, shattered barriers, and created a legacy far greater than any treasure, one of acceptance, courage, and unbreakable spirit. Beneath the vast, star-studded sky of the western frontier, the story of the deaf orphan and the farmer who carried her back into the church echoed as a timeless legend. It was not a tale of violence or conquest, but of the human spirit's capacity to rise above adversity and redefine what it means to be a community. Their journey became a beacon for others, proof that even in the wildest and most unforgiving places, compassion can plant the seeds of lasting change. The orphan's growth into a confident leader inspired many who had felt unseen or unheard. She dedicated her life to teaching, sharing the language and lessons of acceptance that had opened her world. Her story gave voice to the voiceless and hope to the forgotten, becoming a powerful testament to the enduring power of love and patience. Through her, the community learned to listen, not just with ears, but with open hearts. The farmer's legacy was etched not in monuments or gold, but in the lives he touched and the transformation he inspired. His courage to stand against rejection and his unwavering kindness reshaped an entire town's soul. His story reminded all who heard it that true leadership is rooted in humility, service, and the courage to do what is right, even when it is difficult. Though the frontier's challenges never fully disappeared, the town continued to grow stronger, bound by a shared commitment to embrace differences and foster understanding. Their journey was a living proof that healing is possible when communities dare to change and welcome every member as a valued part of the whole. As the stars shimmered overhead, casting their gentle light on the land below, the orphan and the farmer's story lived on, an enduring reminder that in every heart lies the power to transform, to heal, and to create a legacy of hope that shines across generations and wild frontiers alike. In the unforgiving vastness of the Old West, a deaf orphan's silent struggle became a powerful story of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary strength found in compassion. This tale reminds us that the greatest battles are not always fought with weapons, but with kindness, courage, and the unwavering belief that every person deserves dignity and a place to belong. It challenges us to look beyond differences and to embrace the quiet power of empathy in transforming lives and communities. Throughout this journey, we witnessed how one man's simple act, carrying a rejected child back into the church, became a catalyst for profound change. It was a testament that true courage often hides in gentle deeds, and that standing up for the vulnerable can inspire a whole town to rethink its values. This story invites us all to ask ourselves, how will we respond when faced with someone in need? Will we turn away, or will we carry them forward with love? As you reflect on the lessons shared, remember that transformation begins with each of us making small, brave choices every day. Compassion is not weakness. It is a force that breaks down walls, heals wounds, and builds bridges. The legacy of the farmer and the orphan girl teaches us that no act of kindness is too small to change a life, and no voice is too silent to be heard. If this story touched your heart, please share your thoughts below, your experiences, your reflections. By engaging, you become part of a community that values empathy and courage. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire and remind us of the unbreakable human spirit. Your support helps us bring these powerful tales to light and spread hope far and wide. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the Old West, where strength was found not in silence, but in standing up for one another. May you carry this story with you, inspiring you to be the light in someone's darkness and the courage in someone's silence.